On the count of three. One, two, three.
Welcome to Spoilers Welcome, a podcast where we talk about everything and anything film related with my awesome co-host Denton. How you doing this week, Denton?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Doing excellent,
I'm,
as always.
I'm excited for our second film to talk about. Well, our first film to talk about, second episode.
Yes.
So as kind of an intro for what we're gonna do this week. Last episode was just trying to get to know us. This episode is officially talking about one movie only. What we think about it, opinions, discussions, and then our own little review, like our personal review. So it's not going to be as the both of us, but as Adam and as Denton, our own personal reviews of it and how we rate movies. So
Right. That makes sense. And with that, I just wanted to say with this podcast that it is by no means a opinionated session that is professional. So we have a lot of knowledge coming from the broadcasting in high school, coming from loving movies since we were kids, but there's still so much we don't know. So that's why we made this podcast. So we are looking forward to taking apart our first movie, being John Malkovich, and we're just going to get right into it. And we have a similar setup that we did the first episode, which is the rapid fire questions. And we took this from a document online, which was no means like something that we created with a ton of thought behind it, but we definitely had that in our arsenal. So we're going to start off, unless you wanted to add anything else, Denton.
just a quick summary of the movie, I think, which is what you're going to do. So
Yes, it is.
take
So
it
the
away,
film-
big guy.
Thank you. In the 1999 film, Being John Malkovich, it says, in this quirky cult favorite comedy, unemployed New York City puppeteer Craig Schwartz, John Cusack, played by John Cusack, reluctantly takes a temporary job as a filing clerk for the eccentric Dr. Lester, Orson Bean. While at work, Craig discovers a portal that leads into the mind of the renowned actor John Malkovich. When he lets his attractive coworker Maxine, played by Catherine Keener, in on the secret, they begin both an unusual business scheme and an odd relationship that involves Craig's restless wife, Lottie, played by Cameron Diaz. And that is the end of the plot sequence for that one.
Cool.
Very interesting.
Yeah, such a weird movie, but yeah, like you said, it stars like the three main characters would be Cameron Diaz, John Cusack, and John Malkovich himself. It was directed by Spike Jonze, and it was written by Charlie Kaufman, who is known for writing very trippy, kind of sci-fi, fantasy films. He also does Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, which is another very
I saw that since the last
film.
podcast.
Good,
that was a great movie, by the way.
Yeah, he's a
Hopefully
fantastic writer.
He is. Hopefully we can do that movie at some point
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
But alas, the first movie is Being John Malkovich.
Being John Malkovich. I'm so excited to talk about this movie, dude. There are so many things that I want to talk about it. So
I know, so many. I wish, and to be honest with you, Den, I feel like I wish that I had seen this movie like last night going into this, because when we first started it, we were like, I want to make this podcast. And then you were like, dude, you got to watch Being John Malkovich. I was like, I watched it, and I was like, this is trippy. I got to talk with you about it. And then continuing on to the podcast, we were like, wait, save it for the podcast. So now that it's been so much time since that moment, there might be some things that I got to go back and look up online. So if there's any pauses, sorry, audience, just give us a second.
yeah, no. And I think, as time progresses, we'll get better with that. Watching a movie the night before, being able to write about it, and we're just making things work right now.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I would love to do, being a part of podcast more, is to get familiar with the names more, the actors' names, get them in my head to be like, okay, this is who plays in this movie.
Yeah.
Like I know Cameron Diaz from a bunch of DreamWorks animation films, right? And then a couple.
Do you mean Shrek?
I might mean Shrek. And John Cusack and all these different people that I want to know more about. So I'm excited to get into it. If you have any information on where they're from or what they have done in the past, please share, because I'm a little skimpy on that information right now.
Of course. All right.
So the name of the film is Being John Malkovich. When was the film made? 1999. So before the 2000s. And as Denton mentioned, being in Japan, it did come out in 2000, so it must have been really close to that date. So that's the time that it was made. The time that it was in. Do you know what year it takes place, or is it in 1999?
I think it's just based in 1999 when it was filmed.
That's good for the questions that we're thinking of. As you said, the main characters, we already covered that. Films, have they been in before? We're going to get into that hopefully more as we go into the podcast. The first question that kind of comes up before we do the random number generator part of the show is, what does the title suggest to you? What did you think of when you saw Being John Malkovich, as you were like, wait, what is this? At least that's how I felt. What did you feel like?
So I had heard of this movie because it's such a cult classic amongst like obscure movie fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I watched maybe like a trailer or a very brief discussion, but nothing that gave it away, right? So going into the movie, I knew it had something to do with like John Malkovich and like his head, but I had no idea it had to do with literally being John Malkovich.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Same with me. I didn't know it was going to be literal.
Yeah.
Being John Malkovich. That's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that the director, Spike Jonze, like went with that. Before we even start talking about questions, I just want to say John Malkovich in this movie, like what a trooper. Like he played
I love him. Yeah.
So funny and awesome.
Yeah.
Like, gosh.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool that Charlie Kaufman, the writer, was just like, I'm going to write a movie about John Malkovich, this very just random actor. Because, like, he's a known name, but he, like, and they even reference this in the movie, but he's not, like, I wouldn't say he's, like, A-list. I wouldn't say he's an A-list actor. Maybe up until then.
Yeah,
but,
maybe up until that movie. I would agree with you. The only movie that I had seen him in before this was Death of a Salesman.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think one of the things that we are going to find out on the show is that the movies that were adapted from plays are, especially before, like, the 90s, the 2000s, at least from what I've seen, they're pretty good. At least the acting is, like, very heartfelt, it feels. Yeah. Like, really, really well done.
Speaking of that, wasn't John Malkovich, like, they even referenced that in the movie, but I think he started acting in plays and musicals and stuff.
I don't doubt it. I don't remember.
I think he did, because I think they referenced that in the movie, that he's working on a play.
Yeah, and then became a puppeteer, and then I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Exactly, perfect. Yeah, when I had seen Death of a Salesman, which is like, who's it starred? Dustin Hoffman, a couple other people that I can't remember off the top of my head. But that film adapted from that play was really good. John Malkovich, I think, played the role very well. And I haven't seen that in a while, so I won't get into that so much. But him in this movie was very convincing, him being himself.
Yeah.
So, any other thing you want to bring up before we spice it up with some of the random number generator questions?
No, sir.
All right. So the questions, I'm not going to name them off this time because it has a wow factor, like a surprise factor. Like, surprise! Because we just looked at this document not too long ago, and we were blown away by the questions. We were so excited to get into it.
Oh, dude.
So much to talk about.
So much. Okay.
All right. Random number generator starting in 3, 2, 1. Number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
Would you like to start off the question, sir?
Sure, bud. So the question is, what other films have you seen which might bear on your understanding of this film? That's a hard question, dude, because I really don't know. I've never really thought about that. I don't think so. Honestly, like, as an honest answer, I really don't think I've ever seen a movie that can compare to this. I mean, there are movies where, you know, like a lot of, like, especially like Pixar films and stuff. Now that I think about it, maybe the movie Soul, which is a brand new Pixar film.
Which I haven't seen that yet. Is that similar to Inside Out, or is it?
It's kind of similar, but can I make a spoiler?
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Spoilers are welcome, aren't they?
They are totally welcome on the show.
So, being John Malkovich, I would say the way that it relates to the movie Soul. Again, spoilers for the movie Soul if you haven't seen it yet. Um, there's a big portion of the film, I think, in the second act, where this body or this soul that still like doesn't want to go in onto Earth, wants to just continue being a beginning soul. Um, Goes into his body on accident, and he goes into the body of a cat. And throughout like this whole act, she, this soul is seeing life through his eyes and realizing how wonderful life is, and he gets to watch her experience life um,
Hmm.
through his own eyes. So simple things like a lollipop is amazing to her because she never knew what taste was like. So I think the way that I would say the reason I think of that film is because them seeing their life through John Malkovich, a celebrity, or
Hmm.
them seeing life through him as a humble celebrity and like someone that they kind of admire, even though they kind of just learned who he was because they got to be in his body.
Yeah.
I think that kind of helps me understand the film a little bit more, you know. And I
Okay.
know I know Soul is way after this movie, 20
Right. I mean, it
years to
doesn't
be
have to be the
exact,
same
but
time period though. Although the question
yeah.
does suggest that. But I agree with that. I haven't seen Soul, but that sounds like the kind of message that it was trying to take. And I feel like that going on from that with the soul being able to like see through that other person's eyes. I
Mhm.
think Spike Jones and whoever else was involved in writing that had the ability to take that Pixar mentality and put it in the real world, and
Yes.
you got to see how messed up it became
Yeah.
because of how the people were using it. Like they got to know him and they were like, "Oh, look at this." And then they were like, "Greed, greed, greed, jealousy, jealousy," and
Yeah.
like all these like vices that were coming upon them. It's like that doesn't happen in a Pixar film, and if it does, it's very animated and cutesy, but it's like this was a
I never thought about
comedy.
that.
Yeah, but it's like showing that the all like this fanatical stuff in real life, but it's like, oh, it's being tainted by the world that we live in, or at least
Yeah.
from the
Well,
perspective of
because
the.
if yeah, I mean, I 100% agree because if someone, did have that opportunity, they definitely would. They would take advantage of being in the body of a celebrity and being able
Yeah,
to take advantage of what they have. So,
and they totally did, which is like
yeah, yeah.
spoilers. Just kidding. Okay.
Do you have an answer for that question though?
Uh, what was the question again? I
So,
remember the wording. What other films have you seen which might bear
so
on your
yeah,
understanding of this film? Okay. The
yes.
only other film. Oh man. Let me think. The only other film that I can think of that like gives me a perspective of that movie is any movie that takes place in that city. I think of city. I think of the time period in the '90s. Like
Okay.
this was before the 2001 or the 9/11. This is before that moment.
Yeah.
This is before. So the cities, the people are not um, seen through the same eyes as we are. So when they take these things, especially with the sexual everything that was thrown into this movie, explored
Mhm.
in this movie, I can't think of a film that compares to it
Yeah.
besides like a Pixar film,
Yeah,
but that's not.
especially for the time,
Yeah,
because
especially for the time.
yeah, I see what you mean. Especially because like there's a lot of I mean it's obviously a movie about existence. It's an existential film, uh, and it also has a lot to do I think with like identity and like a big one would be transgender, like transgenderism. I don't know if that's the right terminology.
Transgender anonymity? I don't know.
Yeah, but identity, because we'll get more into that later, but
With more
that
questions, but
yeah, but that plays a big role into the film, and I think especially the time period because in the '90s, you know,
'90s.
transgender was kind of looked down upon.
And
At
I
least it wasn't as widely accepted as it is now.
Yeah, and I think in that time period, this is my last part of the answer before we
Yeah,
move
yeah.
on to another question. But I think that time period, the '90s, everything was going up, and although there might have been recessions and things like that in the economy,
Mhm.
this was going towards the next century, right? So this is or the next
Yeah.
1,000 years going into
Hmm.
2000. Everything in '99 is going like whoop, like everything is going up because everything is new, everything is crazy. So all these things that they're exploring, I felt in the movie that they were like, this was the time for that movie to explore those things because everything about the time. So I don't know about movies specifically, but I know that everything else during that time period was really going up. So
I see what you mean.
cool. All right, next question. Randomizing. We should really input some music in here, like
Elevator
ding.
music.
Exactly. And the number is 10.
All right, I have to count.
I know.
1, 2, 3, 4. Awkward silence. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
We'll have these better previewed next time. Don't worry about it.
10. Okay. What was the general theme of each character's development?
What was the general theme of each character's development?
Yes, that was the
Okay.
question.
What a deep question. Thank you, random PDF file that we got on the internet.
I love this.
I'm glad you do, because I'm in college and I still can't figure out what that means.
Especially for this movie, though. I feel like these questions are, like, perfect.
That's good. I'm so glad you think so. Which means you should probably start again, because I have no idea what to say.
All right. So, what was the general theme of each character's development? So I would say for Lottie, for Cameron Diaz's character, because she's the one I think of the most.
Yeah, there's Lottie, Craig, and
John Malkovich, and Maxine as well.
Yeah, and Maxine. Okay.
But I would say for Lottie, because she's the one I could think of like the most, like up front. Her, like I said, identity. Hers is identity, because she ends up once she is in John's body, she realizes that she wants to be a transgender. She likes the way that it feels to be a man, so she wants to be a man. And I think that has a lot to do with her, because she isn't really a big part of the first act, but towards the end of the second act and then the third, she is one of the biggest characters. For Craig, John Cusack's character, I don't know what I would say for theme, but I'm going to try to say some keywords to try to identify what the theme would be exactly. I would say his character struggles a lot with... Sorry.
It's difficult. It is.
Yeah.
His character is so weird. It doesn't feel like he learns a lot.
Yeah. I think he just hates himself, really, which is another form of identity. But, you know, he doesn't really have any drive until he meets Maxine. So he obviously doesn't love his wife, Lottie.
Yeah, not that much.
Well, and then he ends up, like, kidnapping her and forcing her into a cage so that she can go into John Malkovich's body and have sex with Maxine.
Exactly. If we're doing this question kind of together, at least for
John, let's do that. I like that.
For John Cusack's character, I think the theme for his is his character development was literally a rise to become like the puppeteer, and in this movie, as mentioned in the title, being John Malkovich, that was a literal thing that happened. Yeah. His development as being the puppeteer literally happened.
Becoming John Malkovich.
Oh,
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
dude.
So, like, his like whole development was going towards that thing in this film.
So maybe
everything is literal, at least for John.
Character. So maybe theme for him would be control.
Yeah, like power.
Because he likes to control things. And power, exactly.
He literally treats everybody as like a puppet. Like, the reason why his wife was in a cage or whatever is because she was just another puppet that he wasn't fond of playing with at that moment.
Yeah, she was a pawn. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I 100%
Maybe that
agree.
Works.
So I would say, for Lottie, identity. For Craig, power.
Definitely.
For Maxine, I would say would also be like control. Power and control. Because she was also a puppeteer in her own right, if you will. Because
she was kind of like the master puppeteer.
Yeah, because she was using Craig to make money,
Mm-hmm.
and then using John to make love to Lottie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was like a human centipede,
Yeah,
human
it's
centipede like love fest going
oh.
on there. That was so weird.
And then for John Malkovich himself, what
Mm-hmm.
would you say his theme would be?
Um, oh my gosh, I
That
don't
is a
think
hard question
uh,
for
it is a
me, at
hard
least.
question. It is a hard question, but for me, it might just be flying right over my head. But I feel like he did not have any development, like the only
Huh?
development that he had. Because if you think about it, there's a moment in the story when John Malkovich is free of everybody from his own head, and at that moment he's himself, totally himself. And then he goes, "I'm free. Thank goodness I'm free." And then as soon as those old people line up and go back into his head, he goes, and he goes, "Oh," and resumes the puppet.
Yeah.
He is now the puppet again. He's not himself. And in that little split of a moment, that's the only real John Malkovich you get, if you think about it, because somebody's always controlling him at some point.
Because he's an
So,
actor.
yeah. Oh, well, that's pretty
Dude,
good too. That's pretty good too. Because he's a
Hollywood
real
is the
person.
puppeteer. Hollywood is the puppeteer, and John Malkovich is just one of their puppets.
Exactly. And it's like the moment like those old people that are crawling into his portal to like take him over.
Yeah.
I feel like that represents the people that are like, in Hollywood or something. It's like they're
Taking
always
over his
controlling
life,
him
controlling him, yeah.
until they finally like slip up for a second and he goes, "I can breathe, I'm here, somebody save me," and then it goes and it just closes him back up and he's like a
Mm,
mindless drone again. He's like, "Yeah,
he
I'm here
can't,
to make movies for you."
yeah, he can't get away from it. Maybe that could also mean money.
It could.
Because a
Could
lot
be.
of actors keep acting only to make money, not because they're passionate about the film or the
True.
story.
True. And
Um,
in this specific movie, I think my answer would be that just talking about the hysterical fanatical thing that's going on with John Malkovich's head,
yeah,
I don't think there was a lot of change, and if there was any, slightly, it would literally be that it represents something bigger about his own life, which is like the
yeah,
stimulating money, the stimulating power, the attention from being a Hollywood actor to
yeah,
continue being a Hollywood actor. Because the moment
yeah,
he stopped and he was free from that symbolic, puppeteering that he was under, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm free, I can breathe." So that in
yeah.
that little bit of a moment, that's the only point I'm judging him as, and I don't think there was a
I
lot of
see what you mean.
character
Character
development
development for
because
him.
I didn't see what he was like before that.
So in a way, he was really just,
He was like the only person that didn't have any significant
yeah.
change, and yet he was like the main
Well,
character.
in a way, he was a plot point. He was just a plot point.
Kind of.
Okay.
I would agree with that. I would
Yeah.
agree with that. Damn,
And
you hit it right
honestly,
on the nose.
I could be wrong, but I feel like you could have done this with literally anybody, and I feel like having him is almost kind of a marketing tactic, but
You think so?
maybe.
I think what they were doing is like I almost feel like that when Spike Jonze approached John Malkovich, either Spike Jonze sensed that John Malkovich was literally like, "Yeah, I'm just here doing stuff day to day, like just being an actor," and he's like, "Well, why don't we make a film that like pushes some of the norms, and you can just be you, because
Yeah.
you don't have to act, you can just be you." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's cool."
Yeah.
That'd be kind of
Yeah.
cool. At least I hope so, because I feel like anybody in Hollywood is like drowning in something all the time. I'm like, oh, I feel
Mhm.
bad for you.
Yeah.
All right, that was
Cool
a really good
beans.
question.
A difficult one, but a good one.
Hmm. All right, that question we just have to count 4 because it's 14 is the next question.
That question was 10, right?
Yes.
Characters development. Oh, isn't there 15 questions overall though?
Oh, did I count wrong? Oh, no. Okay. The questions that have a question mark sometimes are only asking what is the significance of the question before it.
Okay.
So we might have miscounted a little bit,
Oh,
but
okay.
we'll just
Wait. So what did
14
you
is
say?
the second
14?
to last question. So we'll just pick the second to last question.
All right. What is the role of cultural, social, political, and economic history in interpreting the movie's possible meaning? I think we kind of already explained that.
Yeah, we can. Is there anything else you want to add? We
um,
went into depth with that with the whole like this was in the '90s, everything was going up, and like
yeah,
the Pixar
yeah.
stuff. And
I would say identity, cultural at the time, LGBT. you know, being
Q.
becoming. Oh yeah, Q plus. Sorry, becoming transgender.
Plus.
Um, wanting to be somebody else. And also being controlled by corporate puppets or puppeteers. So
Yeah.
being controlled. Oh man, that's literally. I mean, yeah, that's literally what the movie is about. So
Pretty much, because like I gotta stop saying, but it's just so much I want to get out at the same time. The moment in the movie with the low ceiling workforce
yeah,
building, like the 6.5 or something, or whatever building
yeah,
it was, like 7.5, that was such a corporate power move because it's like, oh, this is affected directly by everything that we think is important because of the corporate, and it's like they live in this short little building, and it's like this is how much we believe you are of significance to us. It's
yeah.
like,
Damn. There you go. There you go. It's not just a talk about identity. It's a talk about the working class
exactly, and how you get identity from the
employees.
working class. Boom.
Whoa.
You heard it here, folks.
You heard it here.
Follow us on Spoilers Welcome on all of our social media platforms.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and soon to be MySpace.
Soon to be MySpace. Really harking on that MySpace.
Hashtag bring back MySpace.
Hashtag save MySpace. The next question is, drumroll please.
Oh.
Bing. Number 7.
Number 7.
Number 7.
What does the film show about the people and their values? You can start this question. At least that's the question I got.
What does the film... I'm repeating the question for myself.
That's fine.
What does the film show about the people and their values? Well, we have to distinguish, Denton. What people are we talking about? The people that made the film or the people that are characters in the film?
Oh. Oh.
Oh.
Yo, that's a good... I think
my favorite part about this
it means-
podcast is seeing your reactions to all the questions. You're like, yo, that's a good question.
I just keep getting surprised by how good the questions are. I think it's asking about the people that made it. So,
Okay.
Or,
Why don't we do both?
yeah.
I feel like we talked a lot about the characters in the movie, though.
How about we talk about the people that made it?
Yeah, we'll talk about the people that made it. Let me find the writer's name.
Charlie Kaufman?
Is that what it was?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm so glad we made this podcast specifically about our lack of knowledge because I don't feel shame anymore about not knowing all these people.
That's it. That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
We're the antithesis of film critics. Somebody asked on the internet, is being John Malkovich a true story?
I hope it is.
Oh, yes, I hope it is too. Oh, my gosh. Oh, by the way, can I say before we get into this question a little bit?
Yes.
I could not tell who these people were, the actors, I mean, until the film was over. I didn't recognize John Cusack. I didn't recognize...
Cameron Diaz, bro.
I did not recognize her at all.
Halfway through the movie, I was like, who is that? Her voice sounds super familiar. And I looked it up and I was like, that's Cameron Diaz?
What the heck, bro?
Yeah, I knew it was John Cusack only because, like, when I first heard about the movie, they were like, John Cusack plays Craig. So, but I think it was so out of character for what he normally plays. He's normally such, like, kind of how he was in the beginning of the movie, like, very, like, calm and quiet and nerdy. But
like the calm nerdy person.
Yeah, I feel like he's normally like that. But by the end of the movie, this man just goes bat crap crazy.
Yeah.
So, which I think was a cool twist, but
a cool twist indeed, my friend.
Indeed.
So, talking about what does it say again? How does the film show, or what does the film show about the people and their values? So, I think the people that made it definitely wanted to push boundaries, right? They wanted to go beyond and create something what I mentioned earlier. Maybe they did it because John Malkovich wanted to be John Malkovich for once, or they wanted to at least show that somebody can have a good film with actors not being strained to be
Huge.
somebody else,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
whatever their
I see what you
premise
mean.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that they wanted to push boundaries with this would be a good point for the transgender movement. Like they're talking about how their identity is now based in the same sentence of dialogue where it's John Cusack's character Craig saying, "It's just a phase. You're gonna get over it. Don't worry
Mm,
about it." And she's like, "It is not a phase," which is, some people would be like, "Oh, maybe she's just playing the woman." Like, "Oh, I'm just, it's not a phase. I'm just changing
yeah.
so much." But it's like her identity sticks, and then what do you do?
Yeah.
So it was,
I yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think that it was almost a kind of a way to, because like I said, in the 90s, that was maybe not as frowned upon as it would have been 20 years before then, but 20 years in the future, it's way more widely accepted. But I
Mhm.
think at that point, it was almost kind of like a, hey, just because, or I think it was trying to give perspective. I think it was trying to give perspective.
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
perspective is like a huge point in this
yeah.
movie. Like
I
from the
think it.
POV shots to the
Yes,
oh,
but I think
Jesus.
it was trying to be like just because you don't identify as the other gender doesn't mean that other people can't. So maybe here's why, like here's a visual representation of why some people are transgender, why some people want to be the opposite sex. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. I think
So,
yeah,
so I
keep going.
think sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No, no, you're good.
but I think having Lottie as kind of just seem like this side character at first, and then make her pretty much a main character, like the main reason this movie kind of exists, in my opinion,
Yeah.
uh, for this plot point specifically for this movement.
Mhm.
I just think it's like so cool because you get to see why she thinks this way.
Mhm.
You get to see her physically go into the body of a male, and I don't know, man. Or into the
Fantastically.
brain. I just think it's I think it was a movement, a statement
Yeah.
and perspective for people who disagreed with that. But I already
Yeah.
know that in the 90s when that movie came out and people went and saw it in theaters not knowing what it was, they were like, what in tarnation? What in tarnation is
Yeah,
this?
because everybody in the '90s talked like that. Even all the hip hop people, they were all like
Yeah,
that. If you don't remember.
everybody, not just Southerners. Everybody talked like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. As soon as
Well,
1990 hit, it was like
even
bang.
other
Everybody
even other
went.
countries,
Yeah.
British, what in tarnation?
They say, they say, could I have my cup of tea? And then they said, what donation? Everybody just
What
went,
in tarnation?
and moving on.
Next subject.
Okay. By the way, do you know how long we've been recording? Because I wanted to do a thing halfway through, and I don't know when that is.
I have no idea how long we've been recording for.
Okay. Well, then we will. Let me do it right now. Actually, I
Okay.
wanted to take a time to ask a question that you and I had thought of before we
Okay.
continue with this list.
Copy.
You had asked a great question before we started. What is the significance of the monkey? And I really want to
Oh,
discuss
yes.
this.
Yes. Okay, I do too. So just before you answer, we were just talking, and he was like, I was like, everything has a meaning, and I was like, but I don't know what the meaning of the monkey is. Like, I'm sure it means something, but I have no idea what it could mean. And Adam was just like, oh, I know what it means. And I
Oh,
was
I
just like,
totally know what it means.
and as he was about to get into it, I was like, please wait for the podcast. This is for,
Stupid.
like, you're going to catch my reaction because I have no idea what you're about to say. So
Okay. So
go
I
ahead.
don't know how impressive this answer is going to be, but as we were talking about before, John Cusack's character is power. He has a greed problem because
Hmm.
he's all about I mean, not money, but like he wants to be the puppeteer. He wants to be somebody that's known, right? He
Yeah, it's
literally
more about fame and like
yeah,
acceptance.
the moment when his wife comes to him, or he comes to his wife, and she's like, "Oh, did you get beat up on the street again?" And he's like, "I just want to be a puppeteer." He's like, "I'm a puppeteer,
Yeah.
even though my art makes problems. Like I cause problems."
Yeah.
So he's like a lot of symbolism right there. But her thing is that he wants to go, but he made a decision to be married, and he has like a low life kind of puppeteering thing that's going nowhere right now.
Yeah.
Her deal is that
Animals.
monkey represents a huge anchor in her relationship because like I know from a fact that like my family part of my family has a lot of animals in their house. They have a lot of animals, and I think it represents hold on. One, I think it represents a restart because like when it comes to like raising kids or something like that and you want to restart, you have, or if you want kids, for example, which is what she wanted in the movie, you have a lot of time to like raise this animal and make it loving and just give your love. So it's like an extra surplus of love that you can give to something, but also it's a huge anchor in their relationship because that requires her to have all of her time put into that. And like she has a ton of them, so it's like her character is I need love and I need to find it, and kind of things like that.
And I also think that kind of tacking onto that, it has a little bit to do with that. Like, he doesn't show her enough affection and enough love, but this monkey is all over her, obviously.
Exactly.
This chimp gives her kisses and like, like she treats it like her baby, and
exactly
she's getting the affection and the love, and at least attention from this animal, and being like a mother to it that she's not getting from John,
John himself,
not John,
John,
Craig, but she eventually gets from John Malkovich in a way.
Oh, from Maxine. Oh, by the way, sorry, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say thank you for bringing that up. That was a really good segue because, dude, I was like, what could that monkey mean? What could the chimpanzee mean, dude?
Dude, and like I know from my own family, like that they have so many animals, and it's like I do not need that many animals, and they apparently do, and it's like I think you have a problem. Like, and what is that problem? And I see that, and it's from that. But the next question that I want to ask before we move on to like really crazy, awesome questions is what was it? I think it was like, what was your favorite thing about the movie? Because I have a favorite thing about the movie, and I wanted to explain that because it is our own opinions before we go into more movie critic review questions.
What is my favorite thing about the movie?
It could be anything. It could be a certain piece of dialogue. It could be whatever, Like what was the thing in the movie?
I liked the tone, I think.
The tone? In what way?
I liked how it was kind of I would classify it as like a dark comedy in a way. Mm-hmm. Because it's got kind of a depressing feeling. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of bland, but it's still quirky. Cuz like you have the floor number. I think that's what I like a lot too is okay, here's my answer. The movie, the plot itself is pretty dark and pretty like depressing. Like
and we love that.
And it's very serious, right? It's a very serious plot. But just everything else, it's such a fantastical idea. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you have like this plot about identity and about power and about greed and about, a man that hates his wife and cheats on her with somebody else, and she cheats on him with the same person, and you have like this very dark thing, but in the midst of it all, it's like these never ending beings that are trying to take over John Malkovich's body to live forever. What?
Such a twist. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I appreciate that too. It's not my favorite thing, but I definitely see how that could be like, dude, the twist that comes at the end of this dark comedy that's supposed to be like,
yeah,
where did that come from?
Yeah, I think that's my favorite thing about it though, is how it's like the story is just super dark, but everything else around it seems something that would come out of a fantasy movie that would be more lighthearted than this movie is. Mm-hmm. You feel me?
I can see that. Yeah.
Just a quick little update. We are 46 minutes into filming right now, so I just wanted to.
Got it. 46. That's a lot. Okay.
Yes.
I think what we're gonna have to do to cover ground is we will do all this awesome question stuff right now. I wanna get into talking about where we're gonna go with it and
Okay.
for the next like possible segments we might have. You never know. We're gonna get into that in a second.
Okay.
How do you feel about doing just answering this question up, talking about what we're gonna talk about, and then if we
Okay.
have room for another question, we can do it. Or
Good idea.
or we could do whatever we want. But
Good idea.
for my part of what I loved about this movie was the sets. Dude,
Yes.
the sets in this movie were gold. That
Yeah.
whole idea. Who comes up with an idea of being like, we're going to have you as a puppeteer and then go in to be a filer in a building that is not big enough for you to stand
Yeah.
in? They're going to create an entire set for that and a background behind it. I appreciated that so much.
And
And
then,
then at the end, when you have the two, who was chasing her? Maxine was being chased by somebody.
I
Was it
forgot about
Lottie?
that scene.
Yeah. I think it
No.
was.
I thought it was Craig.
No, it was definitely Lottie. Because at the end of it, she was like, "I kept the baby because it was you. It was
Oh, that's
yours when you
right,
were
that's
John
right.
Malkovich or whatever." But that whole moment where they're like the way that they're crawling through stuff, different portals and stuff.
Because she was trying to kill her, right?
Yeah, she was like trying to get.
And she was
get
like
to her,
going through
whatever.
memories and stuff. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
That if you notice, that part of the movie was not stapled. It was not a staple part of the movie. It was not big at all. They threw that in there as if it was just something to make the movie better. And it was crazy effort into the memories, the sets, everything.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. Like, thank
Yeah.
you for making that awesome set. And I just appreciate how humble it was. Maybe they didn't have time to make it a big part or something, but
Yeah.
the fact that it came out to be, this was such a small part of the movie. Yet
But
it
such
was
a
like
big experience.
such good quality is
Yeah.
is what my thing was. So
Yeah, I 100%
Yeah.
agree with that.
cool.
Heck yeah, dude.
Heck
So
yeah, man.
to conclude discussion of the film,
Mm-hmm.
what would you rate it personally, and what are some final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Are we rating it out of 10? Is that what we're gonna do?
Out of 10 works, yeah. Or
Okay.
or you could do like the normal school grading scale, like A through F or whatever.
Okay, that sounds good. Let me see. Final thoughts on the movie. When it comes, and I've said this to you before, when it comes to, this was something we didn't discuss, which I would have if we had more questions, but when it comes to evoking emotion from your audience, this movie did a very good job using the boundaries, right? If you're talking to me personally, which is I don't have a movie review background, and hopefully through this podcast we will, but I don't have that. So when it comes to me personally, I saw a lot of like emotion being revoked from the audience, like a shocking spur moment
Yeah.
through these sexual connotations, these sexual boundaries being pushed. And I do feel like that there was other boundaries kind of pushed, but they were not as crazy as the one that was like, hey,
the
this
sexual
is
things.
it's in your face. And it's like, I get that there's a message there. And I don't have any thoughts other than that. Just like, I could see that there was a lot of like in your face kind of, this is what's happening. This is what we're going for. And I was like, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I was like, I get it. And then just like
Okay.
that little set at the end of the movie, you could have made it like a short thing to produce some of the plot, but it was used a lot, which is something that I noted. So,
Okay.
with that, I think the film was hilariously awesome. I love just so many things about it was new. I don't understand how it wasn't one of the, top movies, ever
Yeah.
made. I think it was definitely very widely accepted. I would definitely give it, let me think. This movie was definitely like an A minus to me,
Okay.
if we're thinking like that. Because I think it was a great movie. It's definitely up there, but some of the connotations for me personally
Kind of made
Without
you a little
having-
uncomfortable.
had a little bit uncomfortable because I was just like, okay, it's really in your face. Thank you.
I mean, the part
but no,
the
thank
part
you.
where she took over someone's body to have sex with another person is kind of.
Yeah, you're like, and then it happens like 3 or 4 times just to explain the different parts of like
Yeah.
how these people
How
are
it
moving
works.
along. You're like, I get it, sex is a thing, but it's like, come on.
Yeah.
So that was just me, but
Can I also just mention something that is very important that we didn't mention? Is
Oh, yeah.
that their son at the end is actually Craig.
wait, they had a daughter, didn't they?
Or daughter. Their kid is Craig.
I didn't
Remember?
get that.
Because they're at like the pool or whatever, and Maxine and Lottie are being all like, oh, we're happy now, and our kid's playing in the water, and then it's him, his internal monologue, talking.
Wait. Okay, I don't think so though, because I think it was the old guys that were like looking at the little girl, and they were like, "This is our next host."
It was Craig, dude.
What?
It was Craig. It had to be.
No way. He was just spying on them.
No.
I think because he was still in love with Maxine, which is like really gross. We have to figure this out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know this is gonna extend the podcast, but
it's okay. The last thing we're gonna do is just talk about something new for our channel, and then we will be signing off. I'm so sorry.
Great topic though, but I think
yeah.
next time we'll come a little bit more with more of a fresh brain.
Mm-hmm. Not so sporadic. Like, what did you think about it? And I'm like,
Okay, so the portal Craig had been using to access Malkovich's mind now leads into the mind of Emily, Maxine's baby, which she conceived with Craig's wife Lottie, while Lottie was inside Malkovich's body. Craig is trapped there and watches as the two women in his life share a loving relationship as parents. And so I think that is almost like a karma thing. Like that's what you get for being power hungry and a douche is now you have to suffer. So I think in a way like the theme with him is would be like karma or
revenge. What comes up must come down.
Exactly, because he was in love with Maxine and obviously at one point with Lottie, and now he has to spend pretty much the rest of his new life as their kid, watching them be happy and grow old together.
I didn't catch that before.
Something that he couldn't do.
Wow.
Profound. Which I think is now even more powerful than
what
dude, that makes me so excited that I discovered that. Okay.
Yeah, I know. That was good.
All right.
I have nothing to say besides that. That was good. What's your rating?
For me, it would be, I would say an A.
Okay, cool.
I think yeah, I would say an A, not an A plus, only because I think the rewatchability is maybe a little scarce because of just how big of a movie it is in terms of everything, especially emotionally. It's not like a popcorn flick where you could like sit down and be like, I can watch this movie 1,000 times because it's super stupid and easy and simple.
Exactly. You almost need to watch it like 1,000 times to be like, okay, now I know everything that's happening, and then you can like have it playing in the back. Even if you played it in the background after watching it 1,000 times, you're still gonna be like looking around like, who doesn't know? Let me explain to them what's going on.
It's I think it's one of those movies that like you have to pay attention to, even reviews or rewatches, like you said. So, but yeah, I give it an A. Great movie. I loved it.
Awesome. And that concludes our John Malkovich review, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's continue to go on to talk about what we're going to do with our podcast. Our lovely little baby podcast. Spoilers, welcome. We're so excited to continue doing things with it. What we have come up with is, you're familiar, I hope, with the American Film Institute's Top 100 Movies.
Yes.
If you haven't watched them, we haven't either. It's okay.
I'm sure there are some that we have seen, but...
Definitely, yeah. Like, I mean, I know Indiana Jones, a couple others, Jaws. Those movies are on there. We've definitely seen those, but there are so many that make up the basic films of what makes a film good. We don't have a lot of reviewing experience, criteria being a critic, but we want to, and we're going to go after that. So what we're going to do is, if you want to chime in here in a second, we're going to take those films and we're going to watch them and review them on this channel. And then do you remember what we were going to do with them?
Yeah, so not watch them on the channel, but watch, like we normally will watch them on our own. And then do a review of them and re-rank them based on our opinions.
So this top 100 list is now going to be re-ranked by yours truly.
By spoilers, it'll now be spoilers welcome top 100 list based off of the American Film Institute's top 100 list. So what can be one for AFI will not be one for us.
Maybe. You never know.
I mean, unless we absolutely agree with them.
And if we do, then we're either really, really good at what we're doing by the end of this, or we really just copied everything.
Yeah, but I think that will be a great segment for us to together as well with you, the viewer, to learn about film and like what a good film should consist of. So
Yeah, what it should look like. I think, and with that, we, like I said before, we don't have a lot of experience, but through this process, not only will it kickstart our podcast with episodes and hopefully viewer interaction, but we will be able to show you and have you ride along this journey with us to figure out what a good movie consists of and how you can be a critic for films and how, you know, we have done it. That way, when you watch our podcast episodes after that, where we might even do live movie reviews,
that's
we will know what
eventually.
we're talking about. It's coming eventually. Thank you,
Yep.
Den. Like, I knew that he had the idea, by the way. He's a genius. And he so with that, we're going to go on this journey together. Please, if you will, take my hand and come with me on this awesome adventure.
I'm with you.
I'm with you, but I will not take your hand.
Yeah.
I'm coming with you, but I will not touch you. That's funny.
All right. So I think that concludes today's episode of Spoilers Welcome.
Thank you all for joining. We appreciate your lovely faces or presence or aura or whatever. We love you.
Yes.
We need more of you.
Your identity.
Bum, bum, bum.
All right, guys. I'm Denton signing off.
And I'm Adam signing off. And this was Spoilers Welcome.
All right.
Peace out, y'all.
Later. Yeah.
I said Rite Aid. Isn't that like a drink or something?
Rite Aid? I don't know.
Like
I
a
feel
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid? Oh, that's the brand for Band-Aid or something.